Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's another day that ends in Y, which means another project. This time it's a heater control valve for the 2015 BMW X5. Why did it need this? First, it's kind of tricky to diagnose it, sort of, if you're used to older cars, because this isn't a common thing. Well, at least it wasn't, a few years back. And then in the olden days, for us millennials or older, but this controls the heat or the flow of the hot water coming from the engine to give you heat in the car. So what this thing is doing is annoying the ever-loving dog fur out of me. When you turn the AC on, this is supposed to have a quad zone heating and cooling, but there's only two sides, only two zones. I don't understand why it's quad. So for all intents and purposes, it's two, because there's two vents in the back, the center console for the rear passengers, and they're both separate, left and right. They do function separately, even though they're right next to each other, because you have manual or automatic controls and settings for both the driver and the passenger, which is great, like that. But when I'm driving down the road, the entire, let me go show you here. These vents here, and obviously these sides match, so you have 3 vents there and 3 vents here for the dash. The vents here on the driver's side will actually be fairly cold. This one here, you almost can't notice a difference between this one and this one. Over here, it's a very minor difference, but there is a slight difference from the passenger side. Passenger side works just fine. And then there's 2 back here. This one will just blow hot almost all the time. This one will be cold when you're trying to run the AC, and you'll feel it at your legs and under the seat. So it's really odd that up here is cold, because when some people have this complaint, they say that the vents here are also hot, but in this car they're not hot. These vents on the dash are actually fairly cold, so it feels like the AC is working here, but down below by your feet it is, and back here it's defeating the purpose and it's kicking out hot. So as a driver, it gets really annoying. If it was over there, maybe I wouldn't have a concern, but since I'm driving and my feet get hot, I hate that. So when I did my research and thinking about older vehicles and the vehicles that I've worked on, the heater mixer under the hood is not typically common. Typically the hose, I'll show you here in a second, but there's not a heater control mixing on the outside, but there are blending doors inside. And the blending doors, which move back and forth based on what you're using, whether you're going to defrost or hear your feet, those cycles. So I did look into trying to make sure it wasn't the blend door motor that's just opening up for the bottom and not here, because it's cold here and not down here. So it's really weird, right? And you think if it's quad zones, okay, this is 1 zone, this is 2 zones, and then 3 and 4 zones would make sense, but you can kind of tell it's a slight difference over here. So let's walk you through this in a second. I'll tell you why I ruled that out and why I think it's this one. Well, here's the heater control valve. And this valve, it's not actually as hard as I thought it would get to. It's right down here. I think the only thing I really need to do is remove this pipe. Older vehicles, like my Jeep, there's not a mixing valve. There's no valve. There's no control valve out here. The pipe runs into the car and through another mini radiator, and that mini radiator is what, the hot water from the engine runs through that mini radiator and comes out. And there's a flapper inside that opens up and lets the hot air come in, or you close it and the hot air just circulates through and back. What this one does is actually controls the hot water from out here. Apparently there's no mixing door inside, because this turns the water on or off for that left or right side. And that's not necessarily common. And one of the very interesting things, if you've ever watched some of the car shows and you've seen some people who have overheating engines, they will turn the heater on full blast when the car's overheating, and they'll let the hot air blow through, because it's basically another radiator. But this would obviously circumvent that. And I know there are a few older cars that do have some vacuum control and electronic control heater valves outside of in the engine compartment, but like I said, it's not necessarily common prior to 2010, even probably 2015, and still there are a lot of cars that probably don't have it. So I'm going to get right to this one, and let's just jump right into it. Here are the tools that I need. So there is a connector on this valve. So right here, there is a connector, and that connector is right down there. And I'm going to try these new connector pliers. Otherwise, you can struggle with it yourself. There are hose clamps down there, and those are 6 millimeter. And then this hose here is an 8 millimeter. So this hose I'm going to pull off. It looks like there's PCV valve or some kind of breather valve here that should just pinch and pull off. I'll show you that. And then another, looks like a mass airflow sensor or something down there. I'll pull off, and I think I just get a screwdriver behind that metal piece. I'll try and show you that as well. And then pull this hose out, which will give me a lot more room. And then I've got these little clamps. These are hose clamps tools. And you put them on the hose, and you clamp it, and then you just slide this up. And we're going to clamp off all those hoses so we don't have to lose all of our coolant. 3 of these, and this, I have 2 sets. These 2 are the same. It comes with this one, and a smaller one are 17 bucks at O'Reilly. So I'm sure you can pick them up on Amazon for much cheaper. But that's it. And I don't know if I already said this is right around 30 bucks. So pretty cheap to replace. And when I'm done, maybe I'll take one of these little solenoids off and find out why it might be having a problem. Because if this cheap Amazon one goes out, I can use that one and find the good one and make a good one. Well, we'll see. Or clean that one up. Who knows? But I'm going to jump right into this, taking this stuff apart. Well, that was it. And if I said this was a 7mm or an 8mm, it's a 7mm. My sockets were in the wrong spot, but yeah, 7mm, 6mm. It was much easier to pop this guy out and then handle it once it was with this tube out. And again, this tube here, I just pushed down there and left it. I didn't even take it all the way out. Didn't even unplug that mass airflow, whatever that is. And then yeah, this just pops right out. It's not screwed in or anything. It's got a tab thing here and these two tabs or buttons that go in those grommets. And that's it. Popped right out of there. But again, pulling it to the side and then pulling all the hoses off really helped the trick. And then let's see how much coolant we lost here. Barely any. So I'm gonna go start it up and see if it cools me off. in the whole car. All right, well, initial startup says we're good. So now let's take this apart. So it looks like this bottom is going to be the inlet. So it comes in and then bifurcates. That's a great word. Bifurcate. You should use it whenever you can. It means to bifurcate. So it comes in and then it looks like this controls the left or the right. I don't know which side's left and which side's right. Let's go ahead and open up our trusty little guy here. So these little cones, seat in those little rubber. Yeah, it's rubber down in there. And I'm guessing should be as simple as just applying a little bit of 212 voltage here. We'll create some projectiles. Let's see what we can do. It's a 12 volt battery for my tool set. Don't know. Yeah, they're working. I don't know. I'm not getting power to either one. Or can't get either one to work. I tried. Well, all right, guys. It was just that simple. I thought it would be a little more difficult. It would take a little more time. I didn't even look at it until today, and I noticed it was fairly accessible, so that was good. But it pulled out of there really easy with a couple of those hose clamps, 7mm, 6mm. I used my little ratchet. Needed a little pry bar to get that coolant tube off, but yeah, not much at all. A little mini screwdriver. So only a few tools, some very typical stuff you should have around the house. But that's it, guys. Pretty easy job. I jumped in especially that vent in the rear that's always been hot is not hot anymore. It was kicking out cold when I turned on max AC. So far so good. Hopefully this $30 Amazon fix. Every time I talk about cheap parts, my brother who, I worked on cars from 2000 to 2006 as a professional mechanic. That's how I got all this. In Michigan, I had state certifications in a lot of things, but I've been in public relations for the military ever since. But my brother, he's a professional auto mechanic. Every time I talk about Amazon parts, he's not happy. So here's another Amazon part for you. But thanks, guys, for watching. Like, subscribe, do the free things. And I'll catch you on the next one, which I'm about to pull around. Like I said, today ends in a Y.